Before the world awakened, before the birds broke their silence, before a single human voice rose to fill the air, Jesus was already speaking. Not in a crowd, not from a pulpit, but alone in the thin darkness before dawn, with words so ancient, so precise, so charged with divine intention that they carried the full weight of heaven in their sound. These were not casual prayers. They were 3 specific Aramaic declarations spoken in a specific order, with a specific posture of heart that functioned as a spiritual recalibration of everything within him. And here is what most people will never be told. The language Jesus spoke carried meaning that our modern translations have only partially preserved. Aramaic is not just a language, it is a vibrational architecture. The 3 words we are about to explore, Ithida, Newe, and Hei, are not simply vocabulary. They are frequencies. Each one targets a different layer of human consciousness. Each one opens something that, once opened, changes the texture of an entire day. Aramaic is not just a language, it is a vibrational architecture. To ensure you capture every nuance of the frequency that Yeshua used, I have prepared a visual pronunciation guide that will appear on your screen. Observe the symbols and phonetics as we hear each sound, so your intention remains in perfect harmony with the word. If you have ever felt like your mornings begin in chaos, in fog, in residue from the day before, this teaching was placed in your path for a reason. Stay until the very end, because at the close of this teaching, you will receive the complete transformation protocol, the step-by-step practice that Jesus himself modeled, so that these 3 sacred declarations can become the living architecture of your mornings. The dawn is not just a time of day. For Jesus, it was a threshold, a portal between the silence of heaven and the noise of earth. He positioned himself there deliberately, and now so can you. The language of Yeshua y Aramaic is more than a tongue. Long before Greek shaped the New Testament and Latin filled the cathedrals, there was a language spoken in the markets of Galilee and the homes of Nazareth. That language was Aramaic, the mother tongue of Jesus. Most Christians encounter his words filtered through layers of translation: Greek, Latin, English. Each layer carries wisdom, but each layer also carries something lost, a dimension of sound and resonance that the original Aramaic encoded at a level deeper than meaning alone. In Aramaic, every word is rooted in a living image. The language does not separate the abstract from the physical. When Jesus spoke of the kingdom of heaven, the Aramaic word he used, Malkuta, does not describe a place. It describes a dynamic, divine governance, actively moving through the world. This is why the 3 words we explored today cannot simply be read. They must be received. Jesus was trained in this precision. He would rise before dawn, withdraw to solitary places, and speak not improvised prayers, but words of living substance. As reflected in Matthew 6, he taught his disciples the same principle. Not vain repetition, but intentional declaration aligned with heaven. The 3 Aramaic words, Ithida, Newe, and Hayi, are not inventions of esoteric tradition. They are embedded in the deepest roots of Semitic spiritual language. Their application at dawn transforms not only the mind, but the entire orientation of a life. To hear them correctly, to let them land with the weight they were intended to carry, is to step into the same frequency that Jesus inhabited at the threshold between night and day. That threshold is where this teaching begins. Ithida, the first word, opening what was sealed. The first word is Ithida. In Aramaic, it speaks to the act of being opened, not merely unlocked, but genuinely revealed. When Jesus spoke this word, he was not asking for something to arrive from the outside. He was declaring a reality already present, but not yet accessed. Most human beings begin the day from a contracted state. The night carries its own weight, disturbing dreams, worries settled into muscle, the low hum of unresolved emotion. We wake already narrowed, already in defense. Ithida cuts through that contraction at the source. Think of it not as a key for a door, but as a key for the self. The Aramaic root behind Ithida implies that what is being opened already exists in its fullness. It is not being created, it is being released. What Jesus accessed through this word every morning was the full capacity of perception the human spirit carries. But that fear and spiritual noise keep sealed overnight. In the broader Aramaic tradition, there is a teaching that the soul enters each new day through a veil, a natural narrowing during sleep. But at dawn, when the soul is called back into full engagement with the world, it needs an opening. Ithida is that opening. It is Jesus saying to every dimension of his being, I am available. I am receptive. I am open to what the Father is moving through this day. Modern neuroscience has documented the window between sleep and full waking as the most receptive state the brain enters theta frequency, associated with creativity and deep intuition. Jesus used that window with intentional precision. When you speak Ithida, at dawn, slowly, with breath behind it, you are not performing a ritual. You are participating in the same opening that Jesus initiated every morning of his life on earth. The words of Jesus in Aramaic open different pathways back to divine alignment. Each one represents a frequency capable of restoring something fragmented in human consciousness. Understanding these frequencies is the first step, but mastering their vibration in your daily life is where the true miracle happens. Aramaic words carry a sound dimension that is deeply vibrational, and some of these pronunciations may reach your ears slightly differently, depending on how they are rendered. To help you embody each frequency with precision, I created a collection of 5 sacred study guides, each one dedicated to a specific Aramaic declaration and its practice. Inside, you'll find the correct pronunciation, guided meditations, and daily activation rituals. The link is pinned in the comments. Your deeper transformation begins there. Neve, the second word, aligning your will with the flow of heaven. The second word is Newe. Those familiar with the Lord's Prayer will recognize its echo. It is the root present in the declaration, Thy will be done. But the Aramaic carries a dimension that the English leaves in shadow. In Aramaic, Newe is not passive surrender. It is not resignation. The word comes from a root meaning, let it be, but in the sense of active co-creation, it is the voice of someone so aligned with divine intention that the resistance between personal will and cosmic will simply dissolves. Jesus understood that the greatest obstacle to a powerful day is not external circumstance. It is internal fragmentation. When a human being wakes with the ego pulling in one direction and the spirit calling in another, the result is a day lived in friction. Energy is wasted. Clarity evaporates. Every interaction costs more than it should. Niue resolves that fragmentation at the source. When Jesus spoke this word at dawn, he was performing an internal alignment, a surrendering of everything in him that might resist the movement of the divine through his day. The result was not passivity but extraordinary authority. Scholars who have studied the ancient Aramaic Peshitta note that the prayers of Jesus were characterized by total alignment. He did not ask for things to be different. He aligned himself with what was already moving and moved with it. This is what Newet does when spoken with full awareness at the beginning of a day. It is the declaration, I release the fight. I receive the flow. What is mine to carry today? I carry. What is not mine, I release. The mornings where you wake already in conflict with the day, those are the mornings that most need. Newe. If something in you is shifting as you receive this teaching, trust that movement. It is your original nature recognizing itself. The 5 sacred study guides were designed to walk beside you as that remembrance deepens, layer by layer, word by word, frequency by frequency. In Aramaic spiritual understanding, Hei is not simply biological existence. It is the quality of divine vitality that is always available, but often dormant, in the human experience. The ancient sages taught that most people live not in Hei, but in a kind of spiritual twilight, present, but not fully alive, breathing, but not fully breathing. Jesus came, according to the Gospel of John, that we might have life, and have it abundantly. The Greek word there is zi, but the concept he was teaching from was Aramaic hei, life as divine electricity moving through a willing conductor. When Jesus spoke hei at dawn, he was not describing his state. He was declaring it, aligning his consciousness with the full voltage of divine life rather than the dimmed version most of us accept as normal. This is the third and final movement of the dawn sequence. After opening with Ethab After aligning with Ne, the soul is prepared to receive He, the living current that makes a day not just productive, but genuinely alive. The three words together form a complete spiritual architecture. They move human consciousness through three essential transitions: from sealed to open, from fragmented to aligned, from dormant to alive. In that sequence, Jesus was not performing a religious routine. He was building the interior conditions for a day lived in divine authority. And every morning, that same architecture is available to you. The dawn threshold. Why Jesus chose the hour before light. It is not coincidence that Jesus returned again and again to the hours before dawn. The Gospel of Mark records, with striking specificity, that he rose very early in the morning, while it was still dark, going to a solitary place to pray. This was not discipline for its own sake. There is a reason the threshold of dawn was chosen, and it is both spiritual and physiological. In ancient Semitic cosmology, the hours before sunrise were understood as liminal time, the space between worlds. The spirit realm was considered most permeable in those hours, not because the divine was more present at dawn than at noon, but because the human being was. Sleep had cleared the noise. The ego had not yet resumed its management of everything. The soul was still near the surface. Jesus leveraged this. The words Ithida Newe and Hei were spoken into that liminal space, into a consciousness receptive in a way it would not be again for the rest of the day. The intention behind each word could therefore penetrate more deeply, anchor more permanently, and carry forward through all the hours ahead. Modern sleep research corroborates this pattern. The brain's theta state, that hypnagogic window between sleep and waking, is now understood to be the mind's most creative and receptive state. Declarations made in that window have measurably different effects than the same words spoken mid. Jesus did not have neuroscience. He had something older and more precise: the wisdom of Aramaic spiritual practice, which had mapped these thresholds long before instruments could measure them. The invitation of this teaching is to recover the practice of intentional dawn, to reclaim the threshold that Jesus treated as sacred, and meet it with the same three declarations he used: open, align, activate. The hidden dimension, what the translations left behind. There is a reason scholars, mystics, and desert fathers across the centuries insisted on returning to the Aramaic, because the original carried something the translations could not fully preserve. That something is what the tradition calls resonant depth, the quality of a word that carries meaning, not only in its definition, but in its very sound. When a theta is spoken aloud in Aramaic, the mouth and breath create a specific acoustic pattern. The same is true for Newe and Hayi. These sounds were not arbitrary. The ancient Aramaic teachers understood that language was not merely symbolic, it was operative. A word did not just point to a reality, it participated in creating it. This is the foundation of what Jesus was doing every morning. He was not talking about opening, aligning, and activating. He was enacting those states through the specific vibration of the words he chose. The translation tradition preserved the meaning of his words. What the Aramaic source preserves is the frequency. Both matter. But for those ready to go beyond intellectual knowledge, the original language is the deeper key. Scholars of the Eastern Peshitta tradition have noted that Aramaic-speaking Christian communities, particularly those of Syria and Mesopotamia, maintained a quality of prayer life consistently described as unusually powerful. Some attributed this to cultural intensity. Others, more carefully, pointed to the language itself. These communities prayed in the tongue of Jesus, and that proximity to the source created a resonance that translation could not replicate. Understanding these words is the door. Embodying their frequency is walking through. You are now part of the lineage of those who chose to walk through. Transformation Protocol: how to use the three Aramaic words of Jesus every morning. Pronunciation. Speak each word slowly, with breath behind it. Ite haide, isida soft tiesh, azingde. Stress on the first syllable. As you say it, feel a gentle opening in the chest, as if a door you did not know was closed is now swinging wide. Newe, newe. 2 syllables, equal weight. The first opens, the second releases. Feel your shoulders drop, and your jaw soften the exhale of a body releasing its grip. Hayi, haye. The first syllable rises, The second settles. Feel warmth moving upward from your center. This is the body responding to a word that has always meant divine life in motion. When to use IT? Upon waking, before your phone, before conversation, before your feet touch the floor. In those first moments, you are still at the threshold. This is precisely when Jesus used these words. The practice. Sit at the edge of your bed or stand facing a window. Take 3 slow breaths. On the 4th, exhale. Spechytheta once slowly. Let the word complete itself. Pause. On the 5th exhale, speak. Newe. Allow whatever releases to release. On the 6th exhale, speak. Hei. Slightly louder. This is a declaration, not a whisper. Divine life moves through me. This day is charged with heaven. The intention. As Jesus taught in Matthew 6, prayer is the alignment of the inner person with the reality of the Father. These 3 words carry that alignment. I open to receive. I release what is not mine. I choose to live today in the fullness of divine life. Within 7 days of consistent practice, most people report 3 shifts: quieter mornings, greater clarity in decisions, and an unusual quality of full presence. The feeling of being genuinely here. Did you feel something shift today? Did these words touch something deeper in you? If they did, leave the word frequency activated in the comments. That is, your confirmation that the light within you is moving. And when the light moves, it needs a path. Discover a complete collection of 5 sacred study guides created to carry your transformation beyond this moment. The link is pinned in the comments. Your next step is waiting. We are just scratching the surface of this ancient power.